Wax off.
God damn it, Space.
Welcome to Straight from the shit. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with it. Welcome to Straight from the Muzzle, folks. If we're anything but straight, my name is Space.
I'm Paradox.
And we welcome you guys to our episode, which coincidentally, Paradox is the person I'm interviewing for this episode, which is about transitioning from female to male. Because we've already done one with Ruby where we went from male to female. So, we got to go the other direction.
Sorry. I'm
Right.
still laughing at your wax off.
Yeah, so we try to get our silly willies out, right? We started like 15 minutes ago with the recording. We're talking about a bunch of shit and all that stuff. And then I'm like, all right, we're going to start at 15. I made note of it. And then right about 10 seconds before. Yeah, 10 or 5 seconds before, I started doing this motions with my hand and I did wax on, wax off.
And it fucking made me die. And I was like, God damn it.
I'm like doing like the karate chop move, like in my room. So anyways, so we came up with a bunch of questions and we're going to I'm going to interview Paradox and we'll kind of go from that point forward. We've got several different topics to go over. So personal journey, transition medical experience, community and belonging, family relationships and society, and then future outlook and advocacy. Society sucks.
Society does suck. Society, political climate, the world sucks right now.
Oh, man. What I wouldn't give to go back, I don't know, 15 years, but then we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have met you. I'd have a really shitty smartphone. It's just, there's a lot of cons to going back in time.
Oh, I would have been a freshman in high school 15 years ago. That's insane.
Yeah, I would have maybe had a Nokia brick phone. Sending a message through T9. Do you know what T9 is?
I have no idea where that is.
Okay, so for all the older folks who know what this is, so on regular phones or cell phones, we didn't have the Blackberries, and that would be called a QWERTY keyboard because it says QWERTY across the board. We had something called T9, which was the number pad, and you could only use one would be ABC, 2 would be, DEF, things like that. So you had to text based off of that, and then it would predict a word. So it was fun times. I don't miss it.
See, okay, never mind. Now that you explained it, yes, I do know what that is, and yes,
it's more of a T9 is more of a mode format. It's not necessarily what it is. It's just how it works. But anyways, side tangents aside.
I almost let the cat out of the bag there, if I'm being honest with you.
I thought of something else when you said that.
Oh?
I won't say what it is.
Oh, no.
Just for the sake of it. So, let's go over personal journey and identity. When did you first realize that your gender identity didn't align with your assigned sex at birth?
So I have a set of these questions, and I have looked over the questions, and I've realized a lot of these are much more
made the questions.
Yes, I did help make the questions. Yes, during a note session. Because you asked me to. I actually don't know if Ruby knew the questions beforehand. I can't remember. But anyway.
You and I built the questions.
Oh, nice. Okay. Anyway, but I was looking over them a couple days ago, and I'm like, man, some of these are much more in depth. So when did I specifically first realize that my gender identity didn't quite align with what I was assigned with at birth is not necessarily a linear answer. And
ooh, big words.
I probably what?
Said big words.
Yeah, big words. So if I had to pinpoint it, it'd be probably, I can't really define it, like I said, as one particular instance in time, but rather a collection of moments. I feel as if I knew at a very young age, as a child, probably around the age of 4 or 5, but didn't really have the correct words to express it. So it's because so much of childhood is feeling, playing with the senses, what we see, hear, feel, etc. And I made a very early childhood connection, and this is a bit TMI. So I made a very early childhood connection when my brother and I were very, very, very small children together. And as often happens with small children, bath time was done at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I remember bath time.
I was very, very confused. And I would say that I knew that I was a boy when I looked at like my brother and I'm like, we got different pieces parts. I'm not sure why, but we do. And again, this was probably when I was like 4 or 5 or whatever. And since then on until puberty, I was just very confused. I always felt like a sense of embarrassment when people would like use my dead name and also like refer to me as like she and her. And I'm like, I don't know why I feel so uncomfortable. And I'm like, I once went to a cousin's wedding and I was supposed to be the flower girl and I had to wear a dress. And I remember I kicked and screamed and I begged like my mom, I didn't want to put a dress on because I hated it so much. And everyone would call me cute and pretty. And I hated those terms. And I was just, it felt gross. And I'm like, I don't like this feeling. And again, I didn't have any particular reason why or really a word for it, and because I didn't quite fully understand, I just knew it didn't sit right with me. I didn't want to be perceived as a little girl. I wanted to be like all the other little boys and wear a nice shirt, a tie, and pants. The labels and gender expectations set on me for years have stuck with me like unwanted burrs on a nature hike. If I had to put like, I guess, a description to it, some of those burrs sticking like blood sucking ticks, which also suck.
Oh, okay. I had to think about that. I'm like, what?
Yeah, have you ever, you
I
know what a
get it. I
burr
get it.
is? Like,
Yeah, I know what
yeah.
they are. They're this, it's
Okay.
super annoying. Like when you go on a hike and they get attached to your socks on your shoes, and
Yes.
it's like, ah, I don't even remember stepping on you.
Yeah. Well, they're always getting stuck on like your pants and your shirt and like everything. And it's like, oh, a little side tangent. A recent hike with my wife, I pointed at a patch of burrs and I'm like, look, these are burrs. And she was like, what? And I'm like, they get stuck to you. And literally all I did was touch one and they got stuck on my hand. And I was like, well, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah, they don't really hurt. They're just mildly uncomfortable. But anyway, but I believe some of the worst feelings of gender euphoria I felt was learning about puberty and like what women go through. Those dreaded school videos they show in like fourth grade and how much I wanted to shrink away into my desk as they like explained breast development and menstruation. I was like, ew, that sounds disgusting and I hate that. Like I felt such a sense of fear. This is like does not feel right. I remember coming home like literally that night from those awful fourth grade videos, and like the teachers had given us like samples and like a pamphlet for the parent to sign, and how mortified, absolutely terrified like I was when my siblings began teasing me about like the contents and the samples and like the pamphlet. I literally panicked and ran to my room and like shut the door, cried my eyes out until I like couldn't anymore, and begged literally anybody in the heavens to change me into a boy. Like that's the point of like that I was at such a young age. And around I want to say fourth grade, I was probably like 10, maybe. I just was like, I knew something was not right. I'm like, I don't want to be a girl. And I'm like, ugh. And unfortunately, during that time, with society norms and whatnot, it just was not acceptable for young girls to act or want to hang out with the boys because it was wrong. And you shouldn't, want to cut your hair. You should want to do this. So it was really inground like into my brain to not be a boy until it got to the point where I was like, man, I guess I'll have to try to be a girl. So I guess to answer the question is like I don't really have like a definitive oh shit moment. It was just a collective moment. And there's even more moments like, as I grew older where I felt these things reoccurring. I just had to block it out. And I think that might be a more common occurrence than like a lot of people think. But yeah, at some point when the dreaded puberty did come and like my period came like about a year or so later, literally cried even harder and felt so powerless and everything. And like I said, society norms placed shackles on my freedom of self-expression, basically forced me into a world as a woman and a world that I knew I didn't belong in, but had to give my best effort to make sure I didn't struggle. And I still struggled anyway. That's a long ass answer.
you're talking like girl clothes and stuff. I was thinking like, how, this is kind of a side tangent,
That's okay.
but I was thinking like, how weird is it that in society when children are just children, right? They haven't developed fully, that girls have to constantly wear tops on bikinis, even though they haven't grown into their boobs yet. They're just nipples. But it's socially acceptable for boys to not wear a top.
Yeah.
And like, and here's the other thing too. This is what drives me nuts. So like, I walked out the other day in my underwear, and Curtis was like,
Oh,
you can't walk outside. You're in your underwear." And I'm like, "How is it different from wearing like bikini shorts when you're biking or a swimsuit? They're pants. They still cover the Johnson. No one can see anything. I don't see why it's a problem."
not the Johnson.
Not the Johnson. Anyways, I always thought that was a weird social concept. I get it going forward. Still, it's kind of weird. But like, it's okay to walk outside in a two-piece bikini, but it's not okay to walk outside in panties and a bra. How is that any different than the other option?
And you're absolutely right.
It makes no sense.
It does not make any sense because you're right. Because what is the difference between panties and a bra versus literally a bikini? There's no difference. One of them is considered public indecency, and the other one is considered normal. Does not make sense. And like you said, this is definitely like a side tangent, but sort of relevant. It kind of goes hand in hand, or paw in paw, I guess we could say. Society itself, and also gender, quote unquote, norms, and gender it being a spectrum, but being forced into a gender binary by society. And let's be honest, also by religion. It's like, well, girls can only do this and are only supposed to do this, and boys are supposed to be this way. No, actually. And especially in the queer community, it's very obvious that like gender and expression is literally on a spectrum. This actually segues perfectly like into the next question. So I mean, if you wanted to go ahead and ask it, you can.
Yeah, so I know that we struggled on this particular question because it kind of both like put us in a weird feeling of how to really say this question without it
Mhm.
feeling like nails on a chalkboard. But basically, what does being a man mean to you? And how has that understanding evolved over time? Is masculinity something that's important to you?
So, like I said, this topic does perfectly segue into this question, and this is the reason why. So, like I mentioned earlier, me as a child, like I said, from ages like 4 to like, we'll say like 15, 16, I was like, man, I hate wearing dresses. I hate wearing girly things. I hate wearing girly colors. The things that were deemed of that specific gender, of being a girl, things that automatically were like, you are a girl. Like, if you wear this, you're a girl. If you wear a dress, you're a girl. If you wear the color pink, definitely a girl. You have long hair, you're a girl. That was the things that put a definition, and I did not want to be defined. I was like, I don't like this. And if I'm going to be defined, I would rather be defined into something that I'm comfortable and what society thinks is the normal. So like I wanted to wear things like shorts, like jean shorts and like t-shirts and stuff. I didn't want to wear frilly things or dresses. I wanted to wear those dinosaur shirts. And like I did, mostly because I very vehemently uncomfortable with like feminine clothing. So like I tried to wear more masculine clothing growing up. And like it was definitely a struggle because I had obviously my mom who like and I'm gonna bring up my mom later because there's been new developments with her that I'm actually quite shocked and very proud of. So do not let me forget. I'm actually gonna put this in the notes here. Anyway, so as a child, I had this thing, like I said, in society where you had to be a girl. You had to dress like a girl because that's what I was. That's what I was born as. And I could not be the thing that I so desired. And I guess what now as an adult, and now that I am transitioning and I do feel more confident and more comfortable in my body, and that is such an important thing, is feeling confident and comfortable in your own skin. Because I have discovered that once you feel more confident and comfortable in your own skin and in your own self, you literally almost become unstoppable. Like
Oh, for real.
it is such a freeing feeling. I have never felt like so confident and comfortable ever in my body. And I guess how I understand it, how it has evolved is so like I said, when I was younger, the concept of being a real man is always the same in a sense. Boys are strong, they protect, men know more than women, boys and slash men never cry, men are stronger and women are weaker. Men are always the leaders. Men work all day and the women obey them. Very traditional, very conservative, and also like very religious. But for me, I didn't see myself necessarily in that light. And I saw, like I said, growing up, I saw reflections and shadows, but not really the image I was seeking. So I essentially, and again, like as I realized that I am transgender and that I am not female, I essentially built my own reflection. I built my own shadow and I allowed myself to be tough, but also tender enough to recognize and sit with my emotions. Because a lot of times young boys are told, don't cry, don't show emotions. That's very feminine. Don't do that. Well, human emotion, regardless of what it is, sadness, anger, happy, joy, whatever, that's all human. It's all very human emotion. It's not a binary. It's not female. It's not male. It's not boy. It's not girl, not man or woman. It is a spectrum in itself. Humans are supposed to feel emotion. We are all human. Then, like I said, what people don't realize is also trans men have those experiences that women have, and they understand that all those experiences, like they understand what they are and the pressures of it all. So, like me, for example, if somebody doesn't know that I'm trans and they still like if say like some cisgender woman is like talking about their their menstrual cycle, I understand what they're going through. They don't know, but I understand it. If like a woman discusses their struggles and tribulations with like dealing with asshole men in the world or just like the world or workforce in general and them being overlooked or underpaid or whatnot. I understand that. I understand that how they feel. They don't know that I understand because from the outside, I look and act like a cisgendered man, like for the most part. And so they don't realize that I understand those experiences. So there's that as well. I guess a perfect example would be that speech from the Barbie movie that came out in 2023.
Oh my God.
And I guess,
The
yes,
one that what's her face does, like, you
America
have to be
Ferrera.
this, but then you have to be this.
Yes, yes. Oh
In
my
fact,
gosh.
let me see if I can find that speech real quick.
Oh my God, yes. Please pull it up. But yes,
When I first heard that speech, like in the movie, I myself am not trans, but I felt
yeah,
validated in the sense of this is what society tells me that I need to be. But when I am
yes.
this, then apparently that I'm something else. And it's like, it's never enough.
Yeah. And honestly, if I had to say, I'm not being wrong, but because I know that like everybody's experience is different. But I want to say that actually, I think more like queer people understand, I guess, the heaviness of that speech as well. Like it's not just this gendered women that feel this way. And honestly, with the society things and whatnot, Ruby probably feels the opposite, where now she's experiencing the bullshit that like most women grow up with now that she presents and is
A
a
woman.
woman. So now she's experiencing the opposite end of the spectrum. I am experiencing the opposite end of the spectrum where most people cannot clock me as trans. And it's great. And what's wild is that, for example, at work, most random stranger men respect me automatically. And it's insane. They will call me brother. They'll call me bro. They'll call me, whatever. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. The odd conversations that I've heard because they just assume that I'm a straight man and like, a straight cisgendered man. And they think that like I know these experiences and what we're talking about. I'm like, wow, yeah, yep, sure. And I'm like, dude, you guys talk about the wildest of shit. I'm like, holy shit. I feel both privileged, I guess, to experience these things because these are like some of the experiences I've always wanted to experience. So, for example, being called brother, I once asked a coworker like a couple years ago, I'm like, why do men do that? I'm like, why do they? I'm like, and it's not
It's
even.
a bro
Yes,
thing.
yeah. I'm like,
It's a guy
that's
thing.
what I've come to understand. Yeah, like, because no woman comes up and is like, hey, sister, like, what's that? Like, no, women don't do that. And I could just be different because obviously was a trans child, never had like the actual support, like whatever, or words to understand like what I was and what I am. But like I have these experiences and also now I have new experiences. So now I understand the opposite end of the spectrum. And I'm like, man, this shit is wild. Like I love it, but also I'm like, damn, why couldn't I have been, I guess, respected and treated as an equal before? And it's so bittersweet because when I represented and like when I like was perceived as a woman, I was not respected at all. I was not taken seriously. I was seen as a lesser life form. And that sucks because I'm like, I don't see women as that. Women are fucking badass, okay? Women are badass and I respect them. Like, but holy shit, I now get the sudden respect and like general mutual whatever from men now because they perceive me as a man. And I'm like, that's so wild to me. But yeah, did you find the speech?
I did. So
Okay.
the speech reads as this: It's literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, we always have to be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. You have to be thin, but not too thin. You can never say you want to be thin. You have to say that you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also be looking out for other people. You have to answer to men's bad behavior, which is insane. But if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood. But always stand out, always be grateful, but never forget that the system is rigged. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also be grateful. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. It's too contradictory. And nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, it's also everything is your fault. And then there's a little bit more after that, but it's more like Barbie related. So it's true, though. That is the quintessential expectation of a woman in society, regardless of what country you live in.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, not off topic, but on topic as well. So if I had to say like which was easier to be a man or to be a woman, I'm gonna tell you it's gonna be a man every time. And just in my experience, because I've had both, it is so much easier to be a man than it is to be a woman because women go through so fucking much and
They
it's
do.
still not enough. It's still not enough. Like, I do the bare minimum as a man and I get congratulated. And I'm like, what? Like, I do literally the bare minimum. And they're like, oh my God, you do so much. And like, you do all this, like, whatever. I'm like, no, actually, I've done the bare minimum. What are you talking about? Like, Stacy over here has done like 3 times the amount of work. Why aren't you congratulating her? I'm like, holy shit,
Because she's a woman. I'm
because
not
she's a
saying that
woman.
to be degraded. That's just how people perceive the
Yeah.
opposite sex.
And it's
And it's
so, yeah, good.
it's kind of frustrating because, so you're a man, essentially, you're a man,
Yeah.
but as a gay man, we feel and have to deal with the same type of society pressure that what a man is supposed to be. So once
Yes.
we step out of that bound, we are once again under that same speech as the Barbie speech, where
Yes.
we're expected to be men. We're expected to not cry. We're supposed to be strong, hold our feelings in. If you step out of that bounds, you're not a man, you're something else. And so that's kind of frustrating because it's like, well, just because I'm a gay man doesn't mean I'm not those things, but I'm also free to be myself. But I can't be
Yes.
myself because that's not what I'm supposed to be. So it's kind of like a mind fuck, is what it is.
It is, and I do agree. And in a way, I've also kind of experienced that as well, because, like I mentioned earlier, because I feel more comfortable in my body and in my own skin, I'm more of an Okay, I shouldn't say interesting mesh. I'm more of the authentic me that I'm supposed to be. So I don't give a fuck. So like, if I'm at work and I'm being quote unquote extra gay, because I am extra. Like I'm very like extra. From the outside looking in, I appear and act more like a gay man, like once I'm comfortable. But with like strangers, I'm very much like the straight, like heterosexual man. Like, and I think it's called like code switching. A lot of like people, especially within the queer community and also with like within the black community, it is called like code switching. And actually, a good example is if you ever watch anything that Kamala did while she was campaigning, people were like, well, why does she got like a different accent or whatever? Like, it's because she felt more comfortable. It's called code switching. She felt it was a different dynamic. So then she speaks and, has a different body language and language itself to a different demographic. It's called code switching. You do the same thing when you go to work, especially in retail. I have a retail voice. I have a customer service voice, like whatever, and that is my code switch. When I come home, that's not me. Like when I come home, this is me. Like that's it. But if I'm comfortable, I do represent more of like the fun and sassy. I'm very much like almost a like when I'm comfortable and like especially in like queer spaces or whatever, I just also just don't care. At this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be 30 and I don't care anymore. I want to be me. I have spent my entire life letting people tell me who I can and cannot be. And I have finally in life decided to punch back and say, no, this is who I am. So, in any way, just I guess being a man to me is being emotionally present, being strong and compassionate, and also like showing softness and vulnerability while also not being afraid to be who I was always meant to be. Being the best version I can be, always evolving and always working on myself emotionally, mentally, physically, what have you. Trying to be the most authentic and just, I guess, the most real version of me. And in all of its flaws and all of its beauty and everything else in between.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's move into the medical experience. The medical side of transitioning is, from what I understand, both equal parts of frustrating and enlightening, I guess.
Yes, you're not wrong.
Frustrating because of all the freaking hoops you have to jump through.
Yes, there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through, but there's
It's
also
ridiculous.
it is ridiculous. And I know that you technically have also experienced like jumping through hoops with gender affirming care as well because you also take testosterone.
I do. I take testosterone because my body doesn't produce enough of it.
Yes.
It produces like the very bare minimum. So I have to go through an endocrinologist to prescribe me testosterone. But the frustrating thing is she's basing it off of, I mean, to go off of insurance and then also across the board as a medical standard, my results are compared to the average of my age range, which is really kind of frustrating because I'm not even close to the average range at all. So she only lets me do a certain amount of testosterone each week, and I can't go higher than that because then it would push other, I guess, levels in my system up. But I don't know. It's kind of frustrating. Testosterone for me is very frustrating.
Well, see, and your doctor's not wrong. So they closely monitor my testosterone levels every couple months.
Same.
And I have a set, yes, I have a set dose. And I get blood work done very often because they want to keep a close eye on everything, make sure everything is normal, nothing dips too high, nothing dips too low, all that. So from last I checked, I think I had the option to go higher, but it wasn't necessary. And it was like it was like a fraction of like, what if I'm already on? And so I decided, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm doing pretty good and I feel pretty good and whatnot. I don't want to like fuck anything up. So for now, I'm on just, just my normal dose.
So, what aspects of your transition have been most affirming to you?
I think some aspects of transitioning that have been most affirming. First and foremost, probably my voice. So I have hated my voice forever. Like I've hated my voice forever, ever since I was little. And I remember at one point in time, I think somebody had said that like during puberty your voice gets lower, and I did not register that was only for boys. And so like as puberty was going on, I think I came up to like my mom or whoever, and I was like, "So when does the voice drop happen?" And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "When does my voice drop?" And they're like, "Well, that's only for boys." And I'm like, "No, it says for puberty." And that's what's happening, right? So when does the voice drop? And they're like, "No, your voice does not drop." And I'm like, "Well, that's bullshit. I demand a refund. I would like to sue." Like, so unfortunately, my voice was really high. It has gotten lower. Thank fuck. And actually, if you ever want to see a perfect contrast to like what I used to sound like, go to like a video that was made in like, I don't know, 2022. Like, and
Yeah,
you'll hear what I sounded like.
we had a fan email in saying that like they wanted to know who was trans and why Paradox sounded like super high pitched at one point and is now super low pitched. And so we had explained that. And then I went back and listened to a couple of episodes from before you transition. And oh my God, like your voice was so, I want to say feminine, but also high pitched. And to
Yes.
hear your voice now is a completely different ball game.
Yeah, it is. It's
every
so
once
funny.
every once in a while, I'll message you and be like, "Oh, damn, girl, your voice has gotten lower."
I know. I know.
And when I say girl, like, "Oh, damn,
I
girl,"
know.
I'm
Yeah,
not referring to Paradox as a girl. It's just kind of like, didn't we go
that's
over
the
this one
gay.
time?
Yeah.
It's like the gay African American influence of speech that I go through.
Yes, yes. And like, so whenever Space says girl, like, I know that it's not
Girl,
GIRL, it's GURL.
URL, yeah.
Yes,
It's the same
it's
thing when I
girl.
call people bro. Like, I'll even say bro to like women. I don't.
Yeah,
For me, bro is very
it's gender
universal to
neutral.
whoever I'm talking to. It's not
Yeah,
set to a specific person.
yeah. Honestly, same. I do the same thing. But yeah, so, oh my goodness. So my voice has been probably one of the most affirming things. And I think when I was a child, one of my favorite voices to listen to, this is going to sound so silly and very much outing me as a furry, but like my favorite Disney film remains to this day Beauty and the Beast because I loved Beast's like look and I loved his voice so much as a child. I was like, yes, I want my voice to be that low. It probably won't get that low. And I'm still experiencing the quote unquote second puberty because when you do start hormones, whether it be estrogen or testosterone, you do go through a second puberty. So my voice is still changing. It probably won't hit its final form until like probably 4 or 5 years into testosterone. It just depends. Everybody's different. Yeah, my voice change has been probably one of the most affirming things. Body fat redistributed, like, so it moved to different spots of my body. So instead of me being very curvy, I became very much like a brick. So very, very square.
Did you take any like anti-estrogen blockers? I know that's really controversial.
So I say, okay, you're actually, yes, yes, it's somewhat controversial. I did not take any estrogen blockers, and I think that's mostly because of A, it's because of my age, and B, it is because I had already made plans and was making steps to have a hysterectomy and have at least one of my ovaries taken out, if not both. So that way estrogen would be basically no more. And that was going to happen within like a year or so into my transition. So it really wasn't too much of a bother. Really, the only time that they usually do like puberty blockers or estrogen or testosterone blockers, like what have you, is if you are younger. So say for example, if like a 7 or 8 year old started their puberty or started their period, that would be good cause to start like puberty blockers, because you don't want like a 7 year old to go through that. Like that's fucking sucks. Like that's too young. I think I started like that part of puberty like at 12 or something. And that's like usually around the average time you like, young girls and stuff, or, people assigned female at birth, like start that is like around the 11, 12, 13 age.
So the reason why estrogen blockers are controversial, and it's not controversial just for those transitioning, it's controversial just in general, because no matter what sex you are, whether you're male or female, the body naturally needs estrogen and testosterone. So, and women, I don't know, I don't think women produce testosterone. I'm pretty sure they don't, but
So we produce a very small, I said
a
we.
small amount.
Well, I used to be. It's okay. I just reminded myself of that one Mrs. Doubtfire episode. It's like, oh, I don't get along well with the men because I used to be one. Like, I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, I understand that. There you go. Continue. Go ahead.
The thing is, so it's good for certain things, but it's also bad for other things too, because you don't want to
Yeah.
fully block estrogen. I guess unless you're transitioning from male to female, then I guess you would understand. I could understand. But the other thing is your body also needs estrogen. Probably not a lot of it, but it still needs an amount of it.
Yeah.
So that's why like there's controversy on testosterone blockers and estrogen blockers. It's not necessarily needed, but it is something you can do. But at the very least, talk to your doctor about it. Let them go over the concerns with you, because each person is individually different with their body and levels and all that jazz.
Yes. I think in light of that, everybody produces like depending on the gender that you are assigned at birth. So like say for example, like me, I would obviously produce way more estrogen before transitioning as to testosterone. Fun fact, the hormone that is most prevalent during a woman's menstrual cycle is actually testosterone.
Oh.
So yes. So, well, because women can produce a small amount of testosterone. Everybody has estrogen and testosterone within the body. It just kind of depends on levels and everything else. So, for example, you produce more estrogen, correct?
Ironically, so oddly enough, my body, because of Klinefelter's, I produce a ton of estrogen and I don't
Yes.
produce very much testosterone. And that's because of Klinefelter's itself. As crazy it is, like estrogen was high, my prolactin levels are high. Prolactin is also a balance of chemicals that helps you produce booby milk.
Booby
So
milk.
essentially, if you were to suck hard enough, you probably could get a little bit of milk out of me. I don't recommend
Yikes.
it, but it is what it is. So I have like really high levels of certain things. I asked my doctor if we wanted to go down the route of estrogen blockers, but she recommended me not to because it's not worth the risks, because there's other things
Right.
that go into play. With testosterone that I take, not only does it raise my testosterone levels, but it also raises my thyroid levels. I believe it raises some of my cholesterol levels. So I can see where she's coming from when she says she doesn't want to raise me higher on my dose, because then it makes my other levels go skyrocket through the roof. And then that
Hmm.
could cause potential issues with insurance not wanting to cover the medication anymore or
Yeah.
requiring more information. So they're kind of just keeping me at a base level. The amount that I'm taking right now barely gets me to where I need to go. Like, I may have, what do you call it? What is it? A sexual desire. What do they call that?
Libido.
Libido. Yeah. I may have a libido for maybe once or twice a month, maybe
That's
if I'm
fair.
lucky. Sometimes what I've kind of learned that I've figured out what to do is if I take enough testosterone proactively or consecutively throughout the weeks, and then I start to build up a level. If I go off of it, my libido goes crazy, and it goes crazy for like a week. So I can actually time it pretty well. If I one week I just need to, feel additional sexual desires, because in general I don't really know, like, because I never had testosterone when I was a kid or anything. I never really knew what it was to have a desire sexually. It just wasn't there. I
Like
just
a sex drive,
don't
yeah.
have a sex drive. I legitimately don't. So if I can time this right with testosterone, I can actually have a sex drive when I want it to happen, which is working out pretty well. I haven't told my doctor this yet because I'm pretty sure she'd be like, hell no. but but it's really interesting how it's worked. It's like a scientific experiment that I'm doing on myself.
I know that. So right around the time where I take my shot, because I do shots, so we can actually kind of talk about this a little bit. I'm
Same,
not
because
sure
you and
what.
I both do shots.
Yes, I'm not sure if we have that on here, but I can't remember. But anyway, there's a couple of different ways that you can take testosterone. There are pill forms, but that's not really super great.
It's not covered by insurance either.
It's
I
not
don't
covered
think
by
it is.
insurance. It also,
It's
yeah,
really like testosterone pills are kind of newer to the market and they're super expensive.
yes, very
Yeah.
expensive. And also, I'm told that they taste like nutsack. So unless you like nuts, that
Ew.
taste, yeah, like
Not for me. I know there's
no, no.
there's patches which I've tried, but they don't work.
There are patches. They're not great.
It's not that the medicine didn't work, it's just because the stickiness kept peeling off of my arm. They didn't stay
Yeah,
where they were supposed to. So it wasn't
yes.
effective.
There's also
There's Go
gel.
ahead.
Oh,
Oh
no,
yeah,
it's okay.
gel.
Yes.
Androgel.
Yes, androgel, which I considered it's actually a little bit harder to get a hold of, and it is a little bit more pricey than shots. It is ideal for people that don't really have people that they can't like rub up against, or if they don't have pets and like whatnot. It's also ideal for people who are terrified of needles or can't do
Yeah.
shots. So for me, I considered it, but because I sleep with like obviously I sleep next to my wife and I have a cat who's always on me. I didn't want any of that to potentially get onto like my wife or my cat. I didn't want that risk. It's a very low risk, but it was a risk I didn't want to take.
It's a weird like contact. Like the
Yeah,
instructions that I had, I did it in the morning. You do like one or two pumps per shoulder and you rub it on the shoulder or wherever. There's specific areas that absorb the gel faster. So like the shoulders, my doctor said that you could apply it to the nether regions, but she said that a lot of her patients have experienced like burning and tingling sensation and not a good way. So she didn't recommend doing that, but you can. But the thing is you have to put it on your shoulder. It basically feels like it's kind of like a weird mixture of lube meets hand sanitizer is what it feels like. And you put it
huh.
on your shoulders and you let it dry. You have to let it dry for like 5-10 minutes and then you put a shirt on it. But the thing is, I mean, after it's dry, you have to be really careful of not coming in contact with anyone else. It's not going to like go through the shirt essentially, but if you take your shirt off, you need to throw it in the laundry bin and you have to take a shower to wash it off because the residue's still there, whether it's absorbed or not, it's still there. It was
Um,
too much for me and it made my skin super sensitive too, which I didn't like.
That's fair. Like I said, I have not experienced like the androgel. I do have something that's kind of like that though, and I'll share that here in a second. But I take shots. So every Tuesday. I have a weekly shot that I administer myself. They teach you how to do that in the office, like to
Yeah.
your doctor's office or whatever. So they taught me how to do it, and I was like, cool, I can do it. They do that so that way they make sure you can do it without passing out. So
Yeah.
and that way you know what you're doing. So
Do you take a compound cream in addition to that?
so I do have a compound cream. So that is actually something that I talked to about my doctor. Or talked to with my doctor, sorry. And not because like my testosterone levels were low or anything, but I was like, how do I get, and again, everybody is different, how do I get more bottom growth? So bottom growth is a really fun thing. And a lot of people, and it's very valid if this intimidates you, and that's okay. Bottom growth essentially is when, and we're going to use correct anatomy terms, but is when your clitoris grows and acts more penis like, more phallic like. And depending on a lot of things, like mostly genetics, is how big and or whatever it will get. So mine, I keep threatening to tell my dad, I'm gonna be like, you have a small penis. You wanna know how I know? Because my bottom growth is small. Like,
Here, try Miracle Grow for penis. It's compound cream.
well, pretty much. But that's the technique that we are trying with a direct small dose testosterone cream. That's very much like a lotion directly on the clitoris. And I think it's working a little bit. like just that, like I said, gets a little bit TMI here. But
I think I got my androgel mixed up. So androgel, you're not supposed to put on the nether regions, but the compound cream, you can put it on there. And the
yes,
reason being is because the body absorbs the testosterone better through those areas. So, like, for instance, for guys, to put a nicer term, they would basically put the cream on their nutsack. And then because the testosterone can be produced, I mean, it mostly is produced down that area anyways,
yeah,
it absorbs through that area a lot quicker and goes into the system faster.
yeah.
So that is an option.
Yes, it is an option. But yeah, the type that I have is mainly for like trying to boost like bottom growth. But I have noticed a little bit more subtle changes like since using it. And I'm like, damn, I did not expect like extra like facial hair and extra like chest hair to come in. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go. So I mean it's a win-win for me.
And you do it on a daily basis, right?
I yes, so the lotion stuff I do on like a it's and like I said, it's literally like 2 clicks or 2 pumps, and it's a very small amount.
And you
But
got it
two
from the
clicks or two
pharmacy.
pumps. Yes, I got it from the pharmacy. So do not try to avoid this. I know that times are tough and whatnot, but do try to avoid buying anything online, please. Don't do that. I know that, it's not safe. There's a reason why I get checked every couple months, like blood levels and things, because there are risks like heart attack, vaginal like atrophy, stuff like that. Like you don't want that to happen.
The
That's
term,
why. Go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, you go ahead. You finish.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's why you get checked every couple months.
Yeah.
That's it.
So the term compound cream is specific to a compounding pharmacy. You can't just get it anywhere. And
Yeah.
so the pharmacy actually makes the cream and then puts it in a bottle, and then you basically pick it up and then you kind of do it that way. The benefits to doing a compound cream, in addition to doing testosterone shots, is testosterone shots kind of go into the body and then your levels can go up and down like crazy. Whereas a cream is more consistent and it kind of keeps the body regular by introducing testosterone on a daily basis as opposed to doing it once a week or every other 2 weeks.
Yeah. Because some people do it every 2 weeks. I do it every week.
Yeah, I mean, I could technically do mine every 2 weeks, but I do, what do I do? It's a 200 milligram shot every week. So that's about 2, 4, 6, 800 milligrams a month. That gets me barely to the bare minimum. But I do my
That's
shots
wild.
differently than what Paradox do. I'm assuming your needle is like a 2 inch needle.
Almost, yeah. So like I think they actually fucked up in my needle this past pickup because the needles they gave me was very small in like length, and I was like, oh, it works still. I still used it. It was kind of too late, and I needed to take my shot anyway, and I didn't want to wait like another day. And I'm like, well, we'll just do it anyway and see how it goes. And it's worked so far, so fingers crossed. So but yeah, I think the last time this happened, I actually could not avoid it. It was a like the needle I couldn't take off. I had to go back to the pharmacy, and thank God they were still open. I was like, guys, I cannot take my medication because this needle doesn't come off. Because so
Oh.
the needle that I used to draw up the medication could not be applied, and the needle that I need to administer it could not be taken off. And I'm like, well, that's dumb. So
So I use what I guess in layman's term is called a derma needle. It's a needle that's about maybe 1 or 2 centimeters, maybe. And it's typically like what a lot of like compound Ozempic type medications are done through. And you can
mhm.
do it and you can inject it in the side of the belly or into the thighs. You want to do them into fatty areas of the body because that's how it best absorbs. But what's nice is I can draw from it and then I can also then inject with the same needle. So I don't have to worry about changing out the needles.
See,
The
that's
only
nice.
only drawback is the needle itself is a lot skinnier diameter wise. So to draw out testosterone, it's like maple syrup essentially, depending on the compound you get.
It is
It
very
takes
thick.
it takes forever for the juice to like fill up into the needle itself. And then I have a fear of bubbles in needles because if you get a
Yep.
bubble in the bloodstream, you'll die instantly. So I constantly flick my needle a couple of times and then I push it up. And once I see a little droplet come out of the little needle itself, I'm like, okay, I'm good to go. So it's
Bro, you have just unlocked a new fear because I cannot.
I
Holy
think
shit.
it's like it's so the needle like the quickest and the most I'm not recommending anyone do this. Murderers out there, do not do this. But
Oh my God.
I call it the silent killer because essentially that's what it is. If you fill up a needle with air and you put it into the bloodstream and you go into it, it creates like I can't remember what it is. An air bubble into the bloodstream causes instant death, essentially. So it's in and out, and
Weird.
that's it. It doesn't require any like medications or anything. But with testosterone injections, you don't have to really worry about bubbles as much because they're called intramuscular needles and
Yeah,
they go into the fatty area, which doesn't have direct contact to like blood veins specifically. So even if you have like the tiniest little bubble in there, you're fine. But I have an innate like fear of bubbles in a needle. So I have to constantly like
that's
flick it and
fair.
pump it out.
That's so fair.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I will say there was one time, because sometimes when I put my, like when I stick the needle in and I pull it out, like sometimes like more blood than is supposed to come out, like comes out.
Yeah, that
It
happens.
happens. It sucks. There was one time where I pulled out the needle and it did like a spraying arc of blood.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to freak anybody out, but that happened once. I was fine. I did not die. I'm still here, and it didn't hurt. It just was like, ah, fuck. I think what happened. I even talked to my doctor about this. I told her, I'm like, so that happened, and it was kind of horrifying. She was like, I think you might have just nicked a blood vessel like
Yeah.
on the way
That's
out,
basically
and
what
that's what
happens.
happened. It sucked because there was blood everywhere. And like I said, I didn't die. I was fine. It just sucked, but it was all right. So sometimes that does happen. So if you are looking to get into shots, like I said, that stuff does happen occasionally. It
Where do
still
you do
happens
your
to me.
shots,
I do my
anyways?
shots intramuscular, like you mentioned, but I do it in
Yeah.
my thighs, and I
Okay.
alternate
Yeah.
every
That's
other thigh.
so they recommend doing every other thigh so that way your one-sided leg doesn't get all the shots and it doesn't get sore after doing it. Do you ever get
Yes.
welts when doing it, or does your skin ever raise up?
Occasionally. It doesn't do that very much. It did a lot during the beginning. And I think that's because I was just such a newbie and like so shaky of like doing it. I think that's
Yeah.
why it caused it. I feel like I'm much more steady-handed now, but like it does happen occasionally. I think like not this past shot, but the shot before, I was like, why is this? For me, it's itchy. It gets itchy sometimes. I'm like,
Yeah, it
why
does
is it
get
no?
itchy.
It's weird. So you just have to watch out for stuff like that. So like
Legit, like
it
we
just
could do a
happens.
full episode of how to inject like testosterone into your body because there are so many like everyone does it a little bit differently. If you're unsure of putting it directly into your thigh or your stomach, what you can do, it's kind of recommended, like if you're not quite sure, is you can pinch the fatty area of that section and then insert the needle that way. It makes it a little bit easier for the needle to go in. And once the needle's in, then you relax the pinch and then you just pump in and then pull out.
I've never done that actually.
So
Huh.
it's a lot easier on the skin. Also, you don't really feel the needle going in. So for those who are afraid
Nice.
of needles, the needles really don't. The only thing that initially hurts is the first poke into the skin, but it's like
Yeah.
someone pinching your skin, and then after that, it's in and it's done with. One thing
Nothing like stepping on
to
a Lego.
yeah, nothing compared to stepping on. Nothing ever comes in comparison to stepping on a Lego. One thing you might want to consider is kind of testing out testosterone in itself. So testosterone is suspended with different types of, I'm trying to think of the word, but I can't think of it. It's not a filler. It just keeps it together. So there's like three different types. And so you might put an injection in, and then you might notice that the skin starts to raise up. You might get a really itchy area. It turns red. That probably means that you're allergic to whatever's in the compound of that testosterone. Let your doctor know immediately. They'll try a different, it'll be like the same testosterone, but with a different suspended liquid in there. So that way that one
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily hurt. So it's like it's hit and miss. You're basically testing on yourself for first couple of tries and then you just get used to it.
Yeah. Then that's honestly again, this is why I stress if you're looking to get into hormone replacement therapy, like testosterone and what have you, that's why definitely go to a doctor because they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Usually, if you go to a good doctor, and this can segue into one of the other questions, which is what are some of my experiences with my healthcare providers regarding like my transition. So I go to very specifically, it is literally called the Pride Clinic. And I live in Ohio, so I go to the Akron Pride Clinic, and it is the nicest doctor clinic I have ever been to. I grew up and I'm like, ugh, I don't like doctors. I don't like going to doctors. I will go to this doctor's office for anything. I trust them with my life. They are so nice. They are so affirming. They are amazing. I cannot rant and rave about them enough. They are amazing. My doctor team is wonderful. My doctor that I see, she's now my primary doctor. She is wonderful and she's bisexual. She is a queen. We love her. And she's been wonderful. But anyway, I always recommend going to obviously a doctor because it's very, very important. They will teach you how to do it and they will look out for signs. They had me stay for like the first like 15, 20-ish minutes after my shot. They were like, but they did say they were like, stay as long as you want, until you feel comfortable, like get up and like whatever. They're like, but hooray, you did your first shot. And I was like, awesome. And they were just watching out to make sure I didn't have any serious allergic reactions because oh, excuse me, it was connected to like the hospital. So like if anything were to go awry, I was right there.
Yeah.
So always, always, always try to go to your doctor to get any of your hormone replacement therapy stuff. If that's just very important because you don't know the malicious intent of everybody else, out there, especially with the political climate like out there and whatnot. But yeah, so you always get your testosterone and everything else from a doctor and a pharmacy. Pretty please.
Yeah, don't go to any shady doctors.
No, 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 don't. And like seriously, if you feel uncomfortable with your doctor, and fortunately and unfortunately, I say unfortunately because I don't have, well, I do, but I don't. But like, so I don't have like an experience of trying to get gender affirming care as like a child or a teenager. That shit's really rough. And I totally understand. And that is frustrating, especially when you live with unsupportive parents, and whatnot, and an unsupportive family it does not accept you. That sucks. There are other ways to get your like not necessarily like gender affirming care like at that age, but I want to say there are other ways to affirm yourself socially and a little bit physically in other ways like aside from medically. Like but once you do get old enough and you are out of like that situation whatever, highly suggest you go to like a doctor and research your doctors. I did lots of research before even thinking about going on any sort of hormone replacement therapy. I was like, well, who can I go to? And miraculously, I went to a Pride event, and they were like, hey, gender affirming care, medical stuff, and here you go, have a pamphlet. And I'm like, this is right up the road from me. I'm like, wow. And I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, I'm really going to do this. I'm like, I'm really, really going to do this. You know what? I just thought of something that really solidified my realization that I was trans is I was already thinking about it, and this is going to be another social thing that I'm going to mention, but it like coincides with what I am going to talk about. But when I was dating my ex, I saw videos like trans men, and I was like, oh my God, this was like one of my first experiences with trans people. I saw videos on YouTube, and I was like, whoa. You can do that? I'm like, whoa. I'm like, that's cool. And I did like a deep dive and then I realized I was listening to their stories and I realized I was like, oh, I have very similar feelings. And I'm like, so cool. I'm like, I could be a man, I could be a boy. I'm like, that's been like my life's dream. So and I looked into it and like I said, I was dating my ex-boyfriend at the time. And at this point we had been dating for like 5 years. And I knew him like for 4 years previously because we went to high school together. And I remember very specifically, I went up one day and I was like, so hypothetically, like maybe like just for funsies, like what if I was trans? Like like what would your reaction be? And his immediate answer was, well, we wouldn't be dating anymore because I could never. That's kind of gross. And mentally I was like, oh, and I'll never bring that up ever again. And that really sucked. That honestly, I think that set back my own transition because I blocked that out. Immediately, I was like, "Oh, that's disgusting." The one person that like is supposed to support me and be my better half, whatever, it was like absolutely not. And I'm like, shit. Like, oh my God. And before I continue with that, I'm going to say, regardless of who this person is, what like whoever they are to you, be it your partner, your mom, your dad, your sibling, best friend, whatever. If you know, and then, like I said, I think at this point, and I want to say this is like, oh God, this was like 6 or 7 years ago. I was like full on. I think I'm trans because I was having this small like realization moment, and I remember I actually messaged a friend on Telegram late at night. I knew they were asleep, and I sent them a long ass message. I'm like, I think I might be trans. Oh my God, like this is like my proof and like my like whatever my thinking, and I'm like, and I was panicking. I deleted that message and they never saw it. Like I deleted it for myself and I deleted it for him and he never saw it because I panicked as soon as I sent it. I waited like 10 minutes and I was like, I can't do this, and I deleted it. And I dropped it. I never talked about it like until obviously a couple years ago. I never did it again, but Anyway, I digress.
Literally.
Literally. Anyway, so regardless of who these people are to you, I just want to say the most important person in your life will always be you. It will always be yourself and your happiness and your safety and just it will always be you. Regardless of who this person is, it'll always be you. So if somebody tells you like, ew, that's gross, or like whatever, like, and I say this in regards to like transitioning or being like who you are. If somebody looks at you and said like you're like, hey, I'm a furry, and they're like, ew, that's disgusting, I'm gonna be the
Like,
first to
you're
tell you,
disgusting.
"Okay, cool, fuck that person. That person sucks. Okay, tell them, you know what? No, fuck you, get out of here. Like, like, don't let people tell you who you can and cannot be. Be who you're supposed to be. Be the person that looks back at you in the mirror. And if you have to change like that person that looks back at you in the mirror to fit what you feel on the inside, which is essentially the trans experience and even the non-binary experience, if you are looking in the mirror and you're like, I don't know who this person is, which is how I felt my entire life. I would look in the mirror and I'm like, I don't know who this person is. I'm like, they look very familiar, but I don't know who they are. Like, I do, but I don't. It's not me. And so as I started my transition, I realized slowly as I became like more and more, and even now, because I'm still transitioning, I'm still working through my transition. I'm not 100% my final form essentially. I will still probably forever for the rest of my life be transitioning. There's not
You're
necessarily
like in a
um,
constant Sailor Moon transition.
yes. I
Essentially.
yes, I am essentially a constant Sailor Moon, just dancing and glitter,
Just
just
Sailor
becoming.
Mooning. That's pretty much all that's going on right now.
Yes, you do. Yeah, I'm constantly changing, and you know what? And I think I told my wife the other day. I'm like, you know what? I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm not so much a stranger anymore. I can see the person that I've always been meant to be. And I can finally see that now. I can see that in like the way that there's like fuzziness on my face. I can see the way my face shape has changed. My hairline has kind of changed a little bit. And like I can see my body has changed. And I'm like, wow, this person I have known essentially my entire life now fits what I'm supposed to be seeing with my own eyes. It is insane. It is one of the most euphoric feelings that I've ever felt in my life, and I would never change it or trade it for anything. I love my body now more so than I ever have in my entire life. But yeah, just it's so good. I love
It's
being
so
trans. It's so
good.
good. And I brought it up to you in regards to this episode, and I will mention it. People are gonna hate me, and that's okay because I share a love-hate relationship with the game Undertale. And for reasons are my own, but basically the message of the game is very similar and like well, multiple messages, but one of the best messages of the game was when eventually your character looks at themselves after this long journey after the majority of the game is done and you look at yourself in the mirror and it says after all this time or like despite everything it's still you. So after all this time and despite everything that's happened it's still me regardless of how I've changed whatever, it's still me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a powerful statement.
Yes, it is. And like I said, like I share my love hate relationship with Undertale, and you can hate me in the comments. Send me an email about it. Whoever wants to send me an email about it, I will discuss that in length, and that is okay. But I did enjoy it, but I also found it very infuriating. But anyway, that is a topic for another episode.
What are some costs that are involved in transitioning? What's
Some
something our listeners
costs.
can learn from experiences with insurance or out of pocket spending?
So thank the gods, thank whoever. My insurance has been mostly cooperative. So as I mentioned before, I've had relatively good experiences with my insurance and regarding my doctors and whatnot, getting coverage for my hormones and things like that. It's been relatively smooth, except for my top surgery. But I'll get to that in a second. My hysterectomy was rather smooth. They were like, "Yep." Once I found a good gynecologist that actually listened to me, thank goodness, because I had a problem for a couple of years where I was experiencing excruciating pain. I'll save the long story short. Excruciating pain, didn't know what it was, and then I did some research, and I'm like, I am 99% sure this is what it is. And I had the gynecologist like, she was like, yeah, I don't think so. You're too young for that. I'm like, no, this is what it is. I'm telling you, something's wrong. She refused to do tests, like whatever. Finally, I got into obviously my new doctor's office I brought up my concerns and she was like, hey, that sounds really concerning. Let me get you into this person. I went to school with them. They're amazing. And I'm like, cool. So I went to her and she was wonderful. She validated how I felt, looked into everything, and I was able to get my hysterectomy. And the way that they did my hysterectomy is that I had a almost total hysterectomy. I don't think I would count it as total because they left one ovary, and I'll explain why. But they almost total hysterectomy. They took my uterus, my cervix, my fallopian tubes, and my right ovary. My right ovary because that ovary had big ass cysts and it was painful. But while they were up and in there, they discovered stage 4 endometriosis, which is what I told my doctor like before that I had, and she refused to listen to me. I was like, bitch, endometriosis is a very, very painful, agonizing disease that causes a lot of fucking problems, and they did remove it. So hopefully it doesn't come back. Fingers crossed. Anyway, so the reason why they left one ovary is because, and unfortunately because of like the political climate, if I, for whatever reason, whether it be political climate and I couldn't get access to my hormones or whatever, or if I became ill and I could not take my testosterone anymore, your body still needs to have a way to produce hormones. Whether it be estrogen, testosterone, whatever, it still has to have a way to reduce hormones. And the best way to do that is to leave the one thing that produces hormones. So if I leave just one ovary, I will not produce as much estrogen, but I will still produce enough to where I don't think I will need as much like hormone replacement, and I will have a less likely chance of developing something called osteoporosis, which is like where your bones get brittle and it's awful. There's other problems too, but we decided to keep that one because that one, there was nothing wrong with it. There were no cysts, nothing. It was fine. It was pristine, as it was said. So hooray, it was perfect. So it's just floating up in there somewhere, making hormones. That's it. So that's the only reason why we left it. So if for whatever reason I had to not, whatever, it was just there. But in regards to issues that I had very specifically with my insurance, I guess I should say what kind of insurance I have. So I have the bare minimum. I have the state insurance. I have insurance through the state. I have Buckeye Health Plan. That is my insurance. So that's the Ohio state insurance. But anyway, basically it's Medicaid. So that's what I have. That's what I've had my entire fucking life through my mom. And then eventually I applied for my own and they're like, yeah, sure. There you go. So that's what I've had. And I don't pay anything, which is great. So I don't pay anything for my insurance. Honestly, health insurance should be free, but I digress.
I looked at the average cost of transitioning or gender affirming surgery. This is just a rough estimate. It doesn't actually reflect state like laws or individual costs from different, just depending on where you go. And this is without insurance. Without insurance, you can expect to pay anywhere between $15,000 to $138,000. Now, that seems like a crazy amount of money. But with something like this, when transitioning, there are a lot of programs that you can get yourself involved in where some of that cost can be greatly reduced. You're not spending like an arm and a leg to get this done. Some insurances will cover certain things depending on I wouldn't say like the diagnosis, but depending on how the doctor words the necessary needs for a transition. So it all just depends, but definitely look into it, but then also see what other programs you can get into to help cover that affirming care as well.
Yeah, there's also like other websites and stuff too that do like active donations and stuff like that as well. I think if you do live in Ohio, there's a place called like Trans Ohio. They do often fundraising events and stuff. You can also do GoFundMe. That is a thing that's also something that I did. And miraculously through saving because I have a job and like very hardcore saving and also donations. And also I did a couple commissions and like whatnot. I was able to get most of my top surgery was covered for by insurance. Insurance fought me for almost 2 years on why I could not get could not get my top surgery. And the office that I went through and the surgeons that I went through, they fought tooth and nail for me to get top surgery. The only thing that the insurance did not cover was liposuction. So liposuction just contours everything and makes your chest appear the most masculine like because they're essentially sucking out all of the breast fat tissue. So that's what I had to do. I had to pay that out of pocket, and my estimate, and it depends on chest size and I think body mass index and like whatnot. But for me, it was around $2,125, which was for me, that's a lot out of pocket immediately. And I
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
yikes. I mean, I think in this economy, I think it's a lot for anybody, but like some people are like, oh, that's not that much. I'm like, no. I don't know who just has that saved up and like, yeah, I can just toss that. I did not. So I was like, well, crap. All right. I mean, hooray, it was approved after like almost a 2 year battle. Like insurance was like, yeah, fine, whatever. But you have to pay for liposuction. That was the hardest battle so far for with like insurance and getting receiving gender affirming care and my top surgery, which oh my God, I love my chest. I love it so much. I love being flat. It's great. I never have to wear a bra or a binder or trans tape or anything else again, and it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Somewhat side tangent, but I went to Pride over the weekend, just this past Saturday, and I off and on, I was very careful because you don't want to expose your scars to too much sunlight right off the rip, and I'm only like 3 months post-op, but I had my shirt off and on, but it was when my shirt was off, and I had this younger trans individual. They came up to me and they said one of the most kindest and probably like humbling things I've heard in my life. They came up and they were like, I have to say, they said, it brings me so much joy to see you showing your scars so proudly and bravely out in the open. And it gives me so much courage and hope for when I have top surgery myself. And I'm like, holy shit. Like I'm like me just being shirtless made somebody feel so affirmed. And I was like, oh my God, I did that. I didn't even do anything. I was just walking around at Pride with my shirt off, and some random person, some other trans guy or non-binary person came up and was like, you know what? Hell yeah. They were like, you give me hope. And I was like, holy crap, I gave somebody else a glimpse, a sneak peek on what their future can look like because I walked around the Pride. I had this big ass Pride flag. It was my trans flag, and I was waving it around all like I was out and I was loud. And I was proud. It's the whole point of being at a Pride event. Is to be out and loud. And I was just like, man, I showed no fear, nothing, and I was just like, I felt so good. And like I guess that person seeing me like that just gave them a little bit of hope, and I was so happy do that with doing essentially the bare minimum, just being myself. And I was like, wow, that was great. But it just made me feel good.
Since we're talking about Pride,
Yes.
so we were walking around and this lady walks up. She's like from like an STD booth. And she's like,
Oh
hey, we're
no.
offering free, like discreet STD like testing today. And I'm like, at your booth?
Yeah.
Like,
They had one in ours
I look over
too.
at the booth. I'm like, there's no way. So I just thought it was so funny.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was one at our Pride as well. It was great. They
But
came up to us, they're like, yeah, you tested it. Good.
the other really cool thing was I didn't know this was an option, but it kind of makes me broaden my horizons for maybe hormone replacement therapy and additional care that I might need in the future. There's a little organization, I've already forgotten their name. I think I have their little backpack tote thingy and a card in there. But basically they're an organization that works with your insurance all regarding gender affirming care, hormone replacement therapy, anything that you need that's kind of specific to you, whatever it is, they specifically work with LGBTQ plus type programs and your insurance to make sure that you're taken care of. Had no idea
Nice.
something like that even existed. So I was just like, oh shiz. And she's like, well, do you want to sign up? And I'm like, I already have my insurance set up and I have to stay within a specific system, but this gives me hope for possibly next year or down the road if I need to. So it's interesting. So if that exists in Salt Lake, I assume that it would probably exist elsewhere. You just have to kind of look for it.
Yes, yes, absolutely, it does exist. I'm not exactly sure like where, what organizations, but yes, I guess I could like research that and like I don't know, it does exist, is what I'm saying.
They did have, what are I'm trying to think of the organizations that fight for our rights.
A lot of
Something,
people.
okay, hold on.
Trevor
I have to find
Project,
this.
I don't know.
No, well, the
Uh,
Trevor Project was there, but
oh, the Human Rights Campaign, or
no, it's the other one. I have to
oh, what is it? I know what it is too,
gay
and I can't remember what it is.
rights. I'm sure people are like screaming at us right
I
now.
know. They're like, oh my God, it's
Oh, the
this.
ACLU. So
Yes.
the ACLU was there, ACLU of Utah. And so they're like, do you guys want some free swag? And Felix was kind of like, I don't know. And I'm like, hell yeah, I want some free swag from the ACLU. So I got like a button, I got a couple of stickers, I
Nice.
got a fan. And while Felix was in there, I kind of announced it. I'm like, these are the people that fight for our rights. They're the reason why we can get married. They're the reason why we can do certain things that we can, and they'll continuously fight for our rights going forward. So like I was just so happy to like be in that little tent, even for like a minute or two, but it was really cool. It was just a cool
That is very
experience.
cool.
Yeah.
Something
So
like, somewhat off topic because it's still within like what we're talking about, like trans and like whatnot. I forgot to mention. I knew that it was something I forgot to mention, but something that made me realize that I was trans is I read a memoir actually a couple years ago. I read Elliot Page's memoir called Page Boy, and it was all about his experience about realizing that he was trans and just like similar things that I went through like growing up in childhood, which like you wouldn't think coming from like a celebrity, but like dude, he and I like had a lot of similar experiences, especially like with family and like other people and society and whatnot. And it's so wild to think about. But that was also another key, I guess, in the many locks that was like, yep, you're trans, boy. So very, very good memoir. You know what? I have a picture. I'm gonna have to send it to you, Space, at some time. Just remind me. But I have a picture of that book where I bookmarked every single spot within the book that made me feel either valid or I had a similar experience and or realized that yeah, I'm trans.
my favorite movie from Elliot Page is Juno. It's just
Which
so
is
like
so funny.
it's
They have such a
so
love hate relationship for that film.
they do. And, you know, I mean, I can still see Elliot Page now in that movie, just very like, whatever, straightforward, doesn't really care what other people
Yeah,
kind of think. I don't know. I just love that movie in general. It's just a
it
good
is a good
movie.
film. It
Yeah,
is a good film.
it's weird, but it's good.
It is weirdly good.
Let's go into relationships in society.
Ooh.
How has transitioning affected your family and then your overall outlook of society in general?
So I'm trying to think of how I want to tackle this because there's a lot. For anybody that's listening and that knows some of my situation, because I know that I've mentioned a couple times some of my situation with my mom, which like I know that I was going to mention it again at some point because I have it in the notes, but I'm not quite there yet. But it's been a little bit rocky lately, and not so much lately, but like in recent years, it's getting better? Question mark. I think. But I'll get to that in a second. But I think with family and stuff and how they reacted, my wife actually a while ago had said when I was toying around with the experience of being like non-binary and like trying to see if that fit me pretty good and I think that does still resonate with me slightly, not so much but like slightly. It was a great stepping stone and I value that experience a lot. But it was around that time and I started presenting more and more like masculine and more like getting into who I was supposed to be and whatnot. And my wife actually was like, "Are you sure you're not trans?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm totally sure. Like, I don't think so. Like, no, I think I'm just non-binary." Well, at one point, I think I finally like after thinking about it for so long, I finally sat down like with myself and I was like, I don't think I can ignore it anymore. I think I am trans. Not even like I think I know. And I remember I came home. I had actually gotten off work and I had been thinking about it and sitting about it for like weeks, if not months. And I came home after sitting in my car for like an hour in the parking lot in tears because I was like, I don't know how to say this but to just say it. So like I came home and I told her I'm like I have something to tell you and she was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, I think so. I need to tell you something and I need to have I need to be open minded to have a space. Yeah, I'm like, I know you've already said it, I said, but I think I need to say it for me to fully acknowledge it. And I told her, I'm like, I am transgender. I am not a woman. I am not necessarily non-binary. I'm like, I am trans. I know this and I think I have known this for my entire life. And all she did was hug me and she was like, "Yeah, I know. It's okay." And I'm like, oh, "Okay, cool." So and she's like, "I know." She's like, "I told you you were." You don't listen. Like just in a joking manner, but very, very supportive. My wife has been very supportive throughout the majority of like my transition. There's been a couple hiccups where she's not like quite understanding and like I can mention that too. Like so well, I'll mention it very, very there's been like talks of phalloplasty where she's like, I don't know about that, but that's okay. That I think is just because she's has never had experience with that female anatomy and is a little scared. And like, you know what? That's okay. We're learning together, and that's the whole point. But anyway, so she's been very supportive. She's been my biggest cheerleader in my corner, and I will forever be thankful for that. I can never ever take for granted the help with both my hysterectomy and my top surgery and whatnot. She's been absolutely amazing, and I love her all the more for it. So she's been my biggest supporter. My second, if I had to say my second biggest supporter, is probably my older sister. My older sister, I
Yeah, your
definitely
older sister's
cried.
pretty chill.
My older sister's amazing. she she is one of the chillest people ever. Like she's so cool. She unfortunately lives very far away. She lives in Florida now, unfortunately. She lives in Gatorland. So, with her fiance. But anyway, I told her like right around the time that I started first taking testosterone and whatnot, I was like, I need to tell people because my voice is gonna start dropping and people are gonna be like, "Oh my God, are you sick or what's happening?" I'm like, I have to tell people. So I ended up calling her. And I told her, I'm like, Ashley, I'm like, I have to tell you something. I'm like, Ashley, I gotta talk to you. And she's like, okay. She's like, what's going on? She's like, what's happening? And I'm like,
Did you do
you know these like,
crimes?
did you? Yeah. She's like, are you in trouble? She's like, did you do crimes?
Yeah.
It's like, were you too gay? Did you do crimes? So like, no. But no, I told her I'm like Ashley, I'm trans, I'm transgender, and she was like, okay, what does that mean? she, so then I was like, I'm not a girl. I never was. I am a boy slash man because obviously I'm an adult, and I'm like, I'm transitioning. I'm taking testosterone. I am not your sister. I'm your brother. And she was like, okay. She's like, well, are you happy? Does this make you happy? Are you doing this safely? And I'm like, yes, I'm doing it safely. I'm like, and yes, I'm very happy. I feel very relieved actually. And I'm like, I'm all the this whole time I'm like sobbing. Like I'm like actually just sobbing and I'm like and she's like, it's okay, you don't have to cry. And I'm like, I just don't want you to be mad at me. And I didn't want her to be like angry or hate me. And she's like, I couldn't hate you. She's like, you're my sibling. She's like, you're my brother. And I'm like, oh, I'll cry. I'll cry harder. Like she's been so supportive, like and so amazing. And she's like, "But what do I call you?" She's like, "Because obviously I can't call you by like my dead name." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I go by this." And she's like, "All right, this it is then." And I'm like, "Awesome! I'm like, this is amazing."
Explain to our
Man,
viewers what a dead name is.
so a dead name. And at first, for a long time, I was like, that seems a bit harsh. But essentially, a dead name is a name that, and it's usually the name that you are assigned at birth. A dead name is a name that you no longer go by. Nobody else is supposed to use it because essentially it no longer aligns with you. It is not who you are anymore. It's dead. It's gone. It does not resonate with you. It doesn't belong to you. You don't go by it. You don't respond to it. It's dead. It's gone. Like, and that's it sounds really harsh. And like I said, that's something that I thought was very harsh at first. And I'm like, it's not because essentially the person that I was growing up is essentially gone. Essentially, in a way, and some people, and like I said, everybody's different. And through therapy and whatnot, I have talked to my therapist about this. I'm like, I'm not necessarily grieving like like the old me or like who I was or whatnot. But in a weird sense, you do. It's such a weird double edged sword. I don't feel sad for like the old me. Essentially, I feel more grief that I wasn't able to become me sooner. That's majority of the grief there. And you do feel a sense of grief, but like I said, that's just the majority of my grief is like I wasn't able to transition sooner. But there's also you're never too late to transition. There is a wonderful, there's two people on TikTok. I cannot remember the one's name, but the other one's name, his name is Deacon. And he's like a 50, 60-year-old man. And he started his transition at like 50, 60. There is never a too late timeline for you to transition. It's whenever you're ready. And also whenever you're in a safe and supportive area, and you're able to. If I could have transitioned when I was a teenager, I would be absolutely indestructible. If you thought I was like unstoppable now, I would be indestructible. So, like, I often wonder what my life would have been like had I been able to transition, say, like at 15, 16 years old. My life would be so different. Go
I
ahead.
have to think, what would I be like if I was allowed to be feminine through like my childhood and then, of course, through high school and stuff? I think I'd be a little bit more myself. I guess.
Yeah,
But I was thinking
that's
of
fair.
like what if I were to have a dead name and go into like a different name. I was thinking it'd have to be something like slutty, because like there's no like guy name that I really want. A Jack would
Yeah,
be another one. I guess I could go with Jack because it's kind of interchangeable with John,
you can go with
which is
Jackie, Jacqueline, or something.
ew. No, I think of
No,
Jackie. I think of like hoity-toity, preppy kind of people.
okay.
I probably would choose like Trinity
Ooh, I like that.
or Velvet.
I love that. It's so different.
And
That's
I'd
cool.
have the attitude of Marshmallow from Bob's Burgers. Just like
Oh my God, yes. Anytime, okay, truth be
I
told, anytime I watch Bob's
love
Burgers, I see
Marshmallow.
Marshmallow. That's just
Yeah.
you.
It's just Marshmallow is just so bomb on that show.
Yes. Oh
I
my
love
God,
her.
she's great.
Oh, I love her so much.
Well, I'm here to tell you, you are free to be you, whichever version of you you wish to be, freely and openly with me. So if you want to be Trinity, you go ahead and be Trinity. If you want to be Velvet, you be Velvet. Like if you want to be Velvet Trinity or Trinity Velvet, you be both and you will rock it.
I kind of feel like I am both. Like I don't feel like I present male, but I don't necessarily feel male, nor do I
Yeah.
feel female either. I feel kind of just
Yeah.
like maybe a little bit of both, whatever. It's just kind of
Okay,
how
so
it
you
is. I don't
might
feel
be
like I am
non-binary.
me in the mirror. I really don't. But I
No.
look at me in the mirror and I'm just like, all right. And then I just walk away. Like it's not ideal, but it is what it is.
Have you ever considered trying drag?
Oh my god, I would love to do drag. Oh,
Then you
I just
should. You should totally do that. You could.
I have ideas of like high-heeled boots that I would totally wear. I mean, I'm
Oh my
already
God.
6'4", 6'5", so boots would just
Yes.
make me so much taller. But it would allow me to be like just who I am, and I would keep my beard, so like a little bit of just
Yes.
masculinity in the face. But I would totally just
Listen,
go ridiculous eyeshadow, and I don't know if I would wear a wig. I'd have to decide what kind of wig I'd wear.
I have to show you. There was a drag queen at Pride and she had a beard. And I was like, I'm like, I see my future and it is bright.
I've seen some. There's a really cool
Thanks for the
drag
video.
king. I'm trying to
Yes.
think of his name. They were on RuPaul's Drag Race. No, no, no. They were on the Boulay Brothers. Let me see if I can
Okay.
figure out what their name is because it's a funny ass name, but they do some of the most amazing drag I've ever seen from a drag king status. Oh, Landon Cider. That's the
Insider.
name of the drag king. So Google search Landon Cider, and they
Landon
have some
Cider.
just amazing looks. Oh,
Oh, I love
oh,
them. Oh my fucking
oh.
God.
I
Smash.
just I just love Landon Cider. Like I knew what
Ooh.
drag kings were before I watched this. Like so the Boulay brothers, if anyone doesn't know, they're more like horror drag. And so they do a lot more of a darker twist on the drag itself, but it's really cool to watch. Some of the challenges they put them through are kind of messed up though. I gotta be honest.
Oh,
Like there's definitely some forms they have to like there was one where the two last people had already been decided who was going home, but they had to hold on to this fence with their hands, and the fence was hooked up to a Tesla coil. And every time the Tesla
what?
coil went, they got shocked, and they were shocked horribly. And I'm like,
Oh my
this borderline's
God.
like torture, and this both makes me excited, but makes me like what kind of a thing. But they do a lot of like. So that's kind of like their punishments, but they do a lot of like really cool looks and gore that I quite
Yeah.
like. So I didn't know about drag kings as much until I saw Landon Cider come on there, and then I'm like, oh man, if this is what you represent as a drag queen or king, I can't imagine what others would look like out there. So it was just a really
That's
cool thing.
amazing. So
Yeah.
cool. I love drag queens and drag. I just love drag in general. Like it's so creative and so cool. But yeah. Family, things, topic.
I mean, what about your
Man.
dad? How was your
Oh
dad's reaction?
yeah.
Kind of like as a typical man from Ohio.
My dad, first and foremost, really quick before I go on to my dad, my older brother has also been wonderful, very supportive, very cool. He's a little confused, but he's got the spirit. He's fine.
He's got the
But
spirit.
anyway, he does have the spirit. My dad, we love my dad, but at the same time, it's so. Oh my God, my dad. Okay, so my dad
my god, I love
is
this drag queen.
oh my God.
I'm watching the video. Sorry, continue.
Yes, they were wonderful. They were so cool. But anyway, if I could describe my dad is a mountain man of a man. Literally, he was plucked from the fucking woods somewhere. Wears overalls, a freaking flannel, scraggly beard, has a Second Amendment hat, cigarette pack in his pocket, and goes hunting and fishing and works on the railroad. Fucking very Republican, very homophobic, very transphobic, very racist, and I hit every fucking nail on the head there. So when I say that I am the disgrace of the family, that's the side of the family that I'm a disgrace on. So he claims that he loves me, and he's like, oh, he's like, as long as my kids are happy, blah blah. He's got this weird slight accent. It's so funny. Also, side tangent somewhat. My voice is deeper than his now, which is incredible. So he has a very high feminine sounding voice. But anyway, it was just really funny and ironic. Yeah, like I said, he's very set in his ways, and
As most men
does
are.
does not call me by my name, by my chosen name. He calls me by my dead name, will constantly she, her me, daughter me, and I'm like, dude, I look like you when you were like 15 right now, because right now I'm in like the teen stage of puberty. So like my facial hair is coming in finally and like whatnot. So like I'm not in like I have not hit my final form as man yet. But I'm like, dude, I literally look like you when you were like 15 to 18 years old. You cannot be so for real right now. Be so for real with like, it's my daughter, and I'm like, hey guys, like,
Hi.
hi, like hi, like like whatever. And I'm like, all right. So I have a rocky relationship with my dad, and I fear that it is more rocky now with my dad than it has been ever before. He's very much a Trump supporter, and that sucks because I've gotten to several arguments with him when I'm like, you really just voted for the man that wants me dead. I'm like, do you understand that? You understand that you voted for the man that wants me and everybody that looks like me dead. You do you dead or worse. And I don't want to get too dark, like whatever. But anyway, so we have our ups and downs. Yeah, I don't know. It's very rocky. I haven't like completely blown up on him yet because eventually I will. Like whenever my full beard comes in and everything, I'm gonna look at him and be like, you cannot be so for real right now. Be cannot be serious. Like I look like you. If you were to put us side by side, the apple could not have fallen closer to the tree. I fear the apple is still in the tree somewhere on a branch. Like we look identical. It's insane. Yeah, which I'm not mad about. Like my dad's not that bad looking. He's all right. Like as dads go. I don't know. My mom, however, because here's the thing, I didn't even get to tell my dad anything. He just kind of I said fuck it. I wasn't gonna tell him. I just kind of put it like on Facebook, and he kind of put two and two together, and he was like, "Well, you'll never be a man. You'll always be my daughter." Blah blah. And I'm like, "Well, fuck you too." I'm like, you'll
Right?
always be a sperm donor. How about that, Dad? Which side tangent on that? Tell me why this man got a vasectomy and I was the literally 1 in a million percentile to eject from his remaining stash from his balls, and I like here I am, the gayest and trans of motherfuckers.
It's because vasectomies aren't guaranteed.
Not necessarily, no. Well, especially within the first year that he made an
Yeah.
uh-oh. Anyway, be careful with your vasectomies. Always practice safe sex. Anyway, my mother, I recently got back into touch with my mom, and I've had a rough off and on thing with my mom, admittedly.
I'm sorry.
And
I hate to say it, but your
I
mom is a real bitch. I have to
see, and you
say
know
it.
what? You know what? And actually, on note of that, she can be. And sometimes she really is. And you know what? Not saying that's okay, but she actually surprised me today. And she admitted that she admitted today during a phone call because I've been trying to rebuild my relationship with my mom, and it's been an off and on experience. I'm trying, and I think she might be genuinely trying. She's had some pretty traumatic shit happen to her recently, and I think that might have been, I'm not going to give my hopes up, but she gave me a glimmer today, literally today, this morning. We were talking on the phone and we just had like a normal conversation. And all of a sudden she goes, I've realized I've not been the greatest of moms. She's like, in fact, I may have been quite terrible. but I will do everything in my power to try and make up for that. And I was like, holy shit. I'm like, really? I told her, I'm like, Mom, I'm actually very proud of you for saying that. I'm like, thank you.
Did your mom finally have a come to Jesus moment?
I
Jeez.
don't know. I don't, like I said, she's had some recent bullshit happen to her, like some really rough shit. And I think that might have maybe woke her up a little bit because she doesn't have a relationship with her oldest two children. My older brother and my older sister. My older sister and her have not spoken in probably like 3 to 4 years almost. And my brother has not spoken to her for about 3 years. I left for almost 2 years and did not speak to her. And the youngest one left very abruptly, still speaks to her, but left very abruptly. And I think she might just be realizing like the damage that she's done. And you know what? That's amazing. It cannot erase some of the bullshit that like I've experienced, that like all of her children have experienced, like through her and through some of her, especially some of her partners that she's had. But to hear her say that, and she sounded genuine. There's
Yes.
like, yes, that's the most important thing, is that I usually when she says stuff like this, it's always met with like tears and like the poor me, like pulling, like whatever. And I'm like, she didn't have that. The fact that she said it calmly and openly, the way that I heard her sound, like I said, it sounded so genuine. Like she said it with her full chest and was like, I have fucked up. And I know that I have fucked up. I now recognize this. And she said that she was going to try everything in her power to fix it. And I'm like, holy shit. I told her because she's like, I've also been through like a lot. And she's like, and I know that's not excusable for the way that I have acted. And she's like, I'm really trying. And I'm like, you know what? Mom, I believe you. For a second, I'm like, I believe you. And I think I'm going to allow myself to believe you. And she also surprised me. She also has the spirit. She gets a little confused, but I think she's getting it a little bit better now. She still, unfortunately, slips up and uses like her pronouns and daughter and like whatever. She slips up sometimes. But she told me the other day, I had sent her some pride photos and whatnot. She knows that I've had top surgery. She's seen everything. I kind of made her. I had no like. I gave her no choice. I'm like, Mom, look at my non-existent boobs. So, um, but anyway, I sent her Pride pictures or pictures that I took from Pride and like whatever that included me and like whatever. And she showed them to people that she works with at the barn that she still works with, right? And she was like, "So this is my child." And she was like, and she's transgender, but being going into a man. And I was like, Mom, you almost got it. You're so close. I like, you're so close. And she was telling me that like the people that she was like works with, she was like, I guess they were telling her, they're like, oh, and you're like, you're okay with that? Like that's like most parents are like, really, that's like a big no, and like to disown them or treat them like shit or whatever. And she's like, she said, well, I haven't been perfect. She's like, but I'm trying and I'm really proud of them. And I'm like, bitch, I will fucking cry. I'm like, what? She said that as long as I wasn't hurting myself and as long as I was happy, then that didn't matter to her. She was like, as long as they're happy and they're healthy, who am I to judge? And I'm like, holy shit, Mom. Wow. I told her, like I said, I told her like yesterday and I told her today, I'm like, Mom, I'm very proud of you. I'm like, genuinely, I'm like, you have grown so much in the past couple years. And I'm very proud of you for overcoming things and working on yourself and realizing and sitting with and recognizing your mistakes and actively working on them. I'm like, and you know what? It's okay to have relapses so long as you recognize and apologize and always do better. And that's what she said. She said that I'm not perfect. She's like, but I'm always trying to do better. And I'm like, you know what, Mom? Hell yeah. Now tell my dad the same. Climb up his
Right.
ass. So like genuinely, like I'm actually just shocked that she said that. So like, yeah, I don't know. Like that's like mainly my family things. As for, I want to say, as for like friendships and whatnot, my friends have all of them have been extremely supportive, like very supportive, very open, and I could not have chosen a better group of friends. Now I don't think a single bit of like any of my friends have been like, ew, gross, get the fuck away from me. No, don't talk to me again. Like straight. Oh, I forgot my youngest sister. My youngest sister, she's I think a little confused at some point, but I think she's mostly supportive. I don't know. She doesn't really talk about it much, but I also don't see her very much. But yeah, anyway, friendships are great. They've been wonderful. My work has been okay for the most part. My work does not know that I'm trans. There are a select few people that do know. and it's been great. Like I actually enjoy going primarily stealth, mostly because I don't want the old people
Well,
to be
it's really
like,
none of their
oh.
business either.
Well, no, it's not. It's not me being afraid of who I am. It's not being like ashamed. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm very proud of who I am, and I'm very proud of being transgender. I love who I am, and I love my history and stuff like that. It's very, very powerful, very strong. So that's not the problem. I just don't want to deal with the bullshit. If I'm being, I just don't want to deal with the extra BS that would come with it. I'm like, you know what? I like being self. I like being recognized that I am who I am, and that's how people see me, and that's it.
Let's transition to our last part of the episode. Let's talk about the future of you and what our listeners can learn from this episode and anything you might have as far as advice goes.
So, if we're talking about the future, I know, especially in the States, which I know is primarily probably where like most of our listeners come from is from the States. I understand that it is scary. It's very scary. And I want you to know that like it's also scary for me. Like I want you to know it's also scary for me, but I want you to know especially, and this might be a cliche, but you are never alone. You're never alone. There's always going to be somebody that you can talk to, reach out to. I am available on Telegram. I may not be all the time, but I am there. I have a life and I have busy things going on, but I am here. So if you ever feel like you need to talk to somebody and nobody else is here to listen, reach out to me. Reach out to any of us. We're more than happy to listen, to talk to you. It's just I understand that everything is scary. I want you to all take a deep, deep breath. Most importantly, be kind to yourself. I've mentioned this several times in other episodes to always be kind to yourself, especially in this political climate and how scary it can be. And it is, especially with all the quote unquote executive orders and, anti-trans bills being passed and whatnot. Please be kind to yourself. Be safe. Be aware. There is always something that you can do. If you are of age, get out and vote. If you can, go to protests if you like, but be safe. If you cannot go to protests, that is okay. You can do social media things, spread the word, don't spread misinformation, make sure you do fact check yourself. Please be safe. Take all the precautions. Please be safe. If you do not live in a environment where it is safe to come out, I don't do so. I know that sucks. That's terrible, especially to feel that way. And you may feel like bits and parts of you are dying. It promise you it'll be okay. Please take a deep breath. It'll be okay. And somehow, some way, we will survive. Transgender people and other people within the LGBTQ community has been around for thousands, if not millions of years. And we will continue to be here well after the Orange Menace is gone. We will always be here. Like I said, just be safe. Please be kind to yourself. That's really, really all that I see for like myself, especially right now. Like right now, there are some goals that I would like to work through. I would like to work towards potential either matoplasty or phalloplasty, which we didn't touch on, which that's fine. We can always touch on in a different episode. Just other transgender surgeries and other gender affirming things. But right now, I think I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. I'll continue to take my hormones and continue to work on some other small things. I think for the most part, I'm going to lay a little bit low while still advocating. Still going to fight for everybody, within the community, both trans and LGBT as a spectrum as a whole. Still going to fight. Still going to be here. Come hell or high water, we will make it out of here. We always do. That's pretty much, I guess, what I see. But realistically, if I had my way of what I see for the community's future is I want everybody to be happy and feel comfortable within their own bodies because body dysphoria is awful and I hate for anybody to feel that. So I guess that's all I really have like for that part. So I mean the changes within society, of course, I would rather Trump not be in office. That would be good. I would rather not to have all these attacks. I would rather people not be, harassed and attacked, whatever. I still stand by had Kamala won, it might have been a little better. Maybe. And I say that because obviously the administration is strong. And the seed that Trump has planted is unfortunately more than a seed. It is a plague. It is an epidemic. It's awful. So we're just going to stand strong. We're going to stand together and we're going to be okay. That's how I'm going to end that. Very good.
Awesome. Well,
Yay.
as per usual, we always thank you guys for listening to our episodes. If you have any questions you'd like to ask Paradox, you can always find them immediately in the Telegram group. You can also email us at talktothemuzzle@gmail.com and ask questions, and I can always relay those over to Paradox. Oh, yeah, we have our socials, but you guys know what those are at this point. Just look down below. So,
You know what they are.
you know what they are. Anyways, y'all have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.